sci friendship, and just like everybody else, I like watching cartoons when I was a kid. Among the thousands of episodes I've watched, there was this one episode that really piqued my little mind. It was when I was watching a little bird walking into a crocodile's wide open mouth. And as a curious child, I was eager to see how the bird would be eaten. However, rather than munching on the bird, I was shocked when the crocodile just let the bird peck on his teeth. And they even became friends afterwards. I was like, why? How? Is that like a really scary bird as an overacting child? However, it was only later in the episode that I learned that the bird was actually helping the crocodile by killing his teeth while having a free buffet, treating the crocodile's toothache. I didn't realize by then that this was my very first encounter on the concept of symbiotic relationships in nature, which will be our primary topic in this episode of shortcuts. So, what do I mean by symbiotic relationships? Symbiotic relationships, also known as symbiosis, refer to long term interactions between two different species that live in close contact with one another. Essentially, this term is used to refer to how two certain species can live together in close association in order to survive or sustain life. However, as much as the idea of living close to one another is so cute and endearing, it's not as beautiful as it sounds. That's because there are three primary types of symbiosis that animals can take, and not all of them is cutesy. Namely, we have mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism, all of which we'll discuss one by one. The first of such relationships is mutualism. This relationship was probably the first idea that came to your mind when I talked about the definition of symbiotic relationships, as mutualism is the interaction where both species benefits from the relationship. One example of mutualism is the case of the crocodile and bird I told you guys about earlier. The bird from the cartoon may have been a plover bird, a type of bird that acts like a crocodile dentist, wherein they feed off on food stuck in between the teeth of crocodiles, thereby nourishing themselves while helping keep the teeth of crocodiles clean and free of infection. The bird is full, while the crocodile has shining teeth. It's a win-win situation for these neighboring animals. Another example of mutualism is with bees and flowers. Bees spread the pollens of flowers, allowing them to spread and reproduce in other flowers. On the other hand, flowers provide the bees with nectar, which they use to create their honey for food. Hence, both bees and flowers benefit and thrive by being of help to one another. The second type of symbiosis is commensalism, a relationship wherein one of the species benefits while the others neither harm nor help in any significant way. One common example that we see in nature is in the case of barnacles in baleen whales. You might have gone island hopping in the ocean or have seen images of whales with pimple-like structures attached to their skin, looking like a severe case of acne. These pimples are not actually natural features on the skin of the whale, but rather barnacles teaching a right. Barnacles are crustaceans, a group similar to those of crabs and lobsters that attach to the surface of whales to have access to nutrient-rich waters as the whale swims. However, barnacles do not do anything to benefit or harm the whale. Lastly, we have parasitism, the bitter side of these relations, which most of you probably won't like, wherein one of the species benefits at the expense of the other. Basically, in this relationship, one of the species thrives while the other weakens or dies. One prominent example of this is with the case of pigs and dogs. Pigs suck off the blood of dogs in order to nourish themselves. However, this deprives the dog of their supposed nutrients and can even cause the spread of diseases between dogs when pigs migrate, leading to weakening or death of the dog. The tick lives while the dog dies. Hating those ticks now, don't you? In humans, the most common parasites are the worms. Yes, we can have worms inside our bodies. These worms are nematodes that also suck up the nutrients in our bodies to thrive and bring about various diseases. Some of these worms can even come out when we're doing the number two in the toilet. So you may want to check here and there. Now, you have an idea on how two different species living in close contact with one another can have a beneficial or detrimental relationship with one another, depending on if they are in a mutualism, commensalism, or parasitism form of symbiosis. However, take note that there are also other interspecific relationships in the ecology of nature. There are also competitions, where two species compete for the same resources, and exploitations, where one species hunt, kill, and consume another species, such as with predation and herbivory. Parasitism can also be considered as a type of exploitation. But take note that these interspecific relationships differ from symbiotic relationships as they do not require one species to live in close contact with another. Thus, Symbiotic relationships can be considered as a more specific form of interspecific relationships with the keyword of close contact. Fret not, for we'll dive deeper into the other interspecific relationships in our next episode. So, have you seen organisms that may be having a symbiotic relationship? Feel free to share your own encounter in the comment section below, and we'll see if these organisms are really in symbiosis. Don't forget to like and subscribe, for we will be having more episodes of Shortcuts in Understanding Science. Once again, I am Shu, your sci friend, reminding you to keep your eyes up and keep curious, and this is Shortcuts Science.